You're saying that in California you can kill a newborn baby up to 4 weeks until after it's born?
Absolutely.
That's not true.
That is true.
What we need to do is use our brains. This drives me crazy. If it sounds wildly inaccurate, it probably is. I can't. This is gonna be fun. I thought I signed up to cure headaches, not cause them, but here we are. Today we're diving into the wild world of political TikTok and its intersection with healthcare. We are going to learn, and we might be getting a little angry. Hopefully we will laugh. If I have to suffer through this, so do you. And if you don't want to watch political content, then click away now. There's an election tomorrow. By the time this goes up, we will know the status of things in the United States of America.
Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Nothing to see here.
And I'm anxious, but what can we do? Let's jump into political TikToks. If you're new here and you'd like to subscribe, we would love to have you. I talk about all things periods, pregnancy, and everything in between. Click that subscribe button. Let's jump into the content.
When you start late-term aborting children or aborting them after they've been born, that's nuts.
Aborting them after they've been born?
Yes,
Do you think that's happening?
it is. It does.
I don't think that's happening.
Well,
Aborting children after they're born wouldn't be called abortion, though, right?
into it.
Well,
They
what,
still call it abortion.
what would they? That would be called murder.
Well, not according to the left.
I don't think that abortions are happening after babies are born.
Why don't you look into it? That's the whole thing. You have to study out the issues and see what's really happening.
Could I ask where you read
You
it?
see a lot of propaganda, and it's getting harder and harder with AI for you to be able to determine what's true and what's not.
I agree.
And it's going to get a lot harder.
Do you think that what you read could have been propaganda?
Not if you study the facts out.
Yeah, so sometimes what we need to do is use our brains to go, does this make sense? Do I actually think that's happening? And the answer is no. Still, it's not. That is wild. And it just shows how focused and effective these nonsensical campaign statements are, and this offhanded statements that you hear these people making, how they propagate into beliefs. And of course, I would think that progressives and even just moderates were absolutely losing it if I truly believed that people were allowed to abort babies after birth. Like, actually, that's not fair. I do know why people believe it. We got to take this angle. That looks really alarming and like it's got to be a joke, right? But it's not. This is how effective the offhanded comments from Trump, the things that people say in the media, how they propagate into actual beliefs. And I get it. If that's what I thought was actually happening, I would also think everybody had lost their damn minds because I'd been fed this information. But we have to start taking a step back and getting our information from validated sources, because otherwise, we are also susceptible to believing things that are not real. It's not just certain people. It can happen to anyone. And we have to learn how to pick apart things that we are allowing to become cemented beliefs and look at them through a lens of, is this true? How do I know it? Who's telling me? What's their motivation? And what do I want to do with the information that I find? But you have to be willing to have your bias challenged. You have to be willing to look into it, and you have to be able to. I mean, everybody does not even have the ability, knowledge, access, whatever you need to find that information and actually address it. It's alarming, but I do actually understand how these beliefs come into play and how they happen. I struggle more with knowing how to fix it, but it's a large reason that I do so much content like this on this channel, just hoping that sometimes people will come along who have seen it and maybe be willing to take another perspective.
Well, that's what weeks after they're born, you can kill them.
I'm sorry, I gotta take a moment here. You're saying that in California you can kill a newborn baby up to 4 weeks until after it's born?
Absolutely.
That's not true.
That is true.
That's not
They
true.
passed a law in the last year or two.
That is not true. That's not true.
You need to go do your
That's
research.
100% not true.
You need to do your
Where
research.
did you read that? Be honest.
National news media.
Post-birth abortion. Can you tell me where you read it?
It's been a while.
I've read it so many places I can't name them all. No.
It's hard to name them all right now.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. No, that's not true. Not happening. Not anywhere. It is illegal It's called murder. And you can't murder babies, and I don't know why anybody would want to. So nobody is passing laws that you can murder your newborn for 4 weeks after they're born in California or anywhere else. Like, what? Huh?
Did you hear that Kentucky passed a bill to grant child support for fetuses?
I didn't know that,
Republicans have long
actually.
been trying really hard to establish personhood at conception. And people are like, well, if that's the case, we should be able to get child support and claim them as dependents. And historically, Republicans have always said, LOL, no way, women.
LOL, no way,
Kentucky
women.
was like, if we legally call someone a child, then we have to legally treat them like one. So they drafted a bill saying that actually, yes, women could get child support for a fetus. And then suddenly, without warning, the bill passed and allowed parents to get
How did I not know
child
this?
support after the child is born. My vehemently
I love
pro-choice
Lou Berger,
wife
by the way.
wrote this one, and she said she was screaming as she wrote the whole thing. Now, I maybe somewhat ignorantly thought that this might actually be a good thing, because I figure, well, as long as they can't get an abortion, then it's good that they're getting support from the dad. But maybe it's not a good thing. I don't know. I'm not a woman, so I might not be the right person to speak on this. But what do you guys think? Is this a...
No, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And the reason it's not a good thing is because of what we talked about a little bit earlier with the problem with personhood bills. This is a slippery slope. And also, you don't get to force somebody to keep somebody else alive with their body. Not even if you give them child support. This is wrong, unethical, not okay, period.
Just to be clear, you're saying that you would be okay with a woman well into the third trimester deciding to abort her pregnancy?
Look, these hypotheticals are usually set up in order to provoke a strong emotional...
No, he's right. These are often set up to invoke a strong emotional response. And in some regards, that's okay. But not if it misses the important part of the conversation.
It's not hypothetical. There's 6,000 women a year who get abortions in the third
That's right, representing less than 1% of cases.
I know,
but
but 6,000 pregnancies.
Let's take ourselves...
Okay. I can't. This is misinformation that is continuously propagated not only by the people who are anti-choice, but by people who are pro-choice. There are not 1% of abortions done in the third trimester. The data that they are quoting is from the CDC, and it's less than 1% of abortions are performed after 21 weeks. That is still 2 months before the third trimester. The number of abortions done in the third trimester is exceedingly small, and all of them represent extenuating circumstances, almost invariably a lethal anomaly in the fetus. Not 100% of them. I'm sure you could find an exception, but it is incredibly unusual and nearly impossible to access, and not something most people want, okay? It's just like, come on now, this is crazy. That data is wrong though, and Pete Buttigieg didn't even correct it. It's less than 1% after 21 weeks. Between 28 and 30 weeks, which is the beginning of the third trimester, there is maybe in a year a small number, but incredibly small number, compared to the 94% that are prior to 13 weeks. And after 30 weeks, almost unheard of. Incredibly rare. And always extenuating circumstances. Always something really horrific, usually a very wanted pregnancy. This drives me crazy.
So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a woman in that situation. If it's that late in your pregnancy, that means almost by definition, you've been expecting to carry it to term. We're talking about women who have perhaps chosen a name, women who have purchased a crib, families that then
almost
get
all
the most
of them
devastating medical news of their lifetime. Something about the health or the life of the mother that forces them to make an impossible, unthinkable choice. And the bottom line is, as horrible as that choice is, that woman, that family may seek spiritual guidance, they may seek medical guidance, but that decision's not going to be made any better, medically or morally, because the government is dictating how that decision should be made.
100%. 100% yes. That is it. The government shouldn't be making these decisions. This should be a decision that is made between the person who it affects, the person who is pregnant, and their trusted counsel and support people and physician, or just physician, depending on what the pregnant patient wants. Period. That's it. It shouldn't be difficult to come to that conclusion. This is going to be fun.
This one's personal for me, about IVF and reproductive care. When my wife and I, my wife of 30 years, because yes, we share family values, we just make our own damn choices about our family. But when we wanted to have children, we went through years of fertility treatment. And I remember it was like it was yesterday, just waiting for good news. And then the phone would ring and you would be tensed up, and then you would hear that the treatments had failed. It would blot out the sun that you just wanted something so beautiful and so simple to have a child. And then one day, and it wasn't by chance, when that news came and we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope. We named her Hope. I'm not crying, you're crying, so...
So I love that he chooses to share this story, and I do think it's important to talk about the impact that some of the regulations that the conservative movement wants to instate, how they would affect IVF. And any personhood bill, meaning any state that's pushing a bill that would basically say, from the moment of conception, this is a person with rights, is going to make IVF illegal, because IVF, by nature, involves conceived embryos, which are either immediately transferred or destroyed because they are low quality or have something wrong with them, or frozen. And I don't know if you know this, but we can't freeze people indefinitely or throw them out. And embryos are not people. And we know this because we have eyeballs and we can see they are not people. And even if they were, you can't require somebody to use their body to keep somebody else alive. That is unethical. So I think it's important that we understand how personhood bills will affect not only normal pregnancies, people seeking abortion, but also fertility and reproductive assistance.
We're Alabama moms. Of course we serve our kids nutritious breakfast. Eat up, sweetheart.
We're Alabama moms. Of course we do school drop-off. Have a great day.
We're Alabama moms. Of course our kids dress up for picture day. Mini-me.
We're Alabama moms. Of course we collect child support. Fuck off, Carl.
We're Alabama moms.
Of course we tuck our kids in at night. Mwah.
Right next to the grass.
Obviously, that's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but it does make a point that I think is important, that you will see a lot of people try to combat what I'm about to say, but nobody can do that in good faith. Embryos are not people, and we know this because if there was a laboratory burning down and you needed to go in and save either the 1-year-old who was in the room where the fire was starting, or the 1,000 embryos that were frozen in tanks in the room that was on fire, which one would you choose? The one toddler. And the reason is because that is the person in the room, right? It is really easy, if you think about it like that, to go, yeah, this is not the same. And like, I get it, this is gray, which is why it shouldn't be an issue that the government makes blanket policies on. It's insane to say that that's the same, because it's not.
It's clear that women's reproductive health will be under threat for a long time, which presents a big problem for Republicans who are trying to figure out how to win over women voters while taking their rights away.
A brand new strategy memo circulating at the House GOP's policy retreat recommending that members express empathy for women.
Express empathy. Okay, novel idea. Let's keep brainstorming.
I feel like someone just went like, hey, ChatGPT, are women people? How do we pretend that we think that? What should we do to pretend that we think that they are, even though we all know they're not, actually?
Republicans need to learn how to talk about abortion in a way that is going to appeal to suburban voters, single mothers, married mothers, women across the political spectrum.
Yes, be as appealing as that guy. Okay. Achievable, I think. Yes. Okay. Any other breathtakingly obvious suggestions?
This is where I feel obligated to insert that never in the history of the United States of America has the majority of the population been in favor of the incredibly restrictive abortion bans that a lot of states now have. Never in the history of the US since Roe v. Wade was instated has the majority of the population thought that overturning it was the right thing to do. These restrictive laws do not have majority American support, period. Point blank period, they don't. Okay, that is all. I hope that you learned something today, and if you didn't, at least learn something from this statement. Don't believe everything that you see on social media. In particular, if it sounds wildly inaccurate, it probably is. There are two sides to everything, and the truth always lies in the middle. And I understand how misinformation becomes propagated and how information can be presented to us in a way that makes us believe things that aren't real. I get it. But we have to be discerning with what we choose to believe. And that is a statement that I think is even more critical when you're voting on things that affect other people. Okay, I'm stressed. I hope everybody didn't hate this video, but you know what? I feel passionate about talking about these things, and it's already out there on social media, and I'm gonna keep talking about it. When the politicians stop affecting the people that I take care of and how we can take care of them as physicians, I'll stop talking about this. But until then, I'll be here. I hope that you learned something, and I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll see you next Monday.